Back again with another reaction video. I will be linking the artist information in the description, a link to the artist page, and also a link to the video that I will be reacting to. This channel is not monetized. This content is not eligible for monetization because of copyright rules, and that's fine. I'd always rather see an artist get their money for their work. That's I understand that completely. So if you want to support what I do here, you can do so at the @ posted on the screen. Now I myself am a music major. I got my Associate of Arts in Music in 2018. I'm currently working on an associate in what they call music business. The business of the music. There's a lot to do with production, working with Pro Tools, recording and mixing, but there's also a fair deal of additional things like video production and also marketing and advertising and some legal stuff as far as copyright and contract laws and stuff. Interesting. It's a fairly comprehensive course, and there's not many like it. But what I've been doing lately is just going through and listening to some popular contemporary music because I don't have much experience with it. I just don't listen to pop music regularly. It's just not one of my go-to things. In doing this and these reaction videos, I listened to the first sort of K-pop that I'd ever heard just yesterday. And I have to say I enjoy it. I've enjoyed it a lot, especially compared to the sort of Western stuff that we have right now in pop music. I just think that there's more going on, and particularly with these K-pop groups, because you get 4 or 5 or more voices in a group, and they use a lot of interesting rhythmic patterns to a lot of the vocal lines. For the most part, the audio tracks that I've heard so far in the mixes, they've been solid. They have some changes as far as chords that are being used. There's some contrast that's there. Most of these videos that I pick, I also just look for something that is recent, because I don't know any of this. It's all new to me, right? So I just look for perhaps one of the more recent things. And depending on where a group or an artist is in their span or whatever, their time, like sometimes they're a little bit farther in their career, they've already got a few albums out, and things can start to sound a certain way, but just know that it's not predicated on anything in particular. I'm coming in doing like a completely blind reaction because I don't know any of it anyway. I just look for the most recent thing. But that being said, what I'm going to be checking out right now is a group called Red Velvet. I believe that this is there's 5 members of this group. So we'll probably get some more harmonization. I'll be listening to when I listen to do these reaction videos. What I'm looking at is the structure of the song, the composition, vocal arrangements, just overall the musicality of it, the things that I'm hearing as far as rhythm and time, and just trying to understand it in terms of that. Do what they call active listening, which involves sort of trying to single out the different parts that are there, and really get a sense for what it is that they're doing. in addition to that, I look at the video to get an idea as far as the aesthetic that they want to have go along with the sound. So that way, maybe by the end of the video, I have some sort of opinion on it. Most of the K-pop stuff that I've heard so far and seen, I enjoy it. It's kind of like a can't really go wrong formula, if you will. It's like you get pretty girls dancing and singing, and I don't think that's ever not worked. I mean, you know, and they sort of approach it very. They put a lot of work into this stuff, at least what I've seen so far, with the dance work and the vocal work, and all of the music composition and production that is going into it. As lighthearted as the stuff seems, it's very laborious to do something like this. I know this. I just know it. I just know that it takes a lot of work to make these sorts of production things happen, like to actually do one of these songs and one of these videos and all this. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So and that's why I enjoy it. I have enjoyed them all so far. So that's the setup, and without further ado, here is Red Velvet with the song called Feel My Rhythm.
작은 소란을 또 일으켜. This is gonna be a crazy night. 등장부터 인사까지 파격적이게 우리 살짝 놀아볼까 솔직하게 baby. 지금부터 시작해볼게. Feel my vibes. 꽃가루를 날려 폭죽을 더 크게 터뜨려. 우리로만 다 편견해가 되지 마. 자유로워 지금. Come with me. 상상해봐 뭐든지. 노래를 따라서 저 따뜻한 춤을 춰. 바로 지금. Follow my heartbeat. 해가 떠올 때까지. 멈추지 말아줘. 이 순간을 놓지 마 baby.
Let's see. So, I really like the introduction, the opening here. I like the use of the strings. I can't tell if that's a sample of a specific piece. It feels like it, but it could be a completely original thing that was done just for this particular song. But it seems to add an anachronistic kind of, a sort of a nod to the classical style. The chords are relatively straightforward. It's in 4. Let me see. The percussion is very. It sounds like it gets pulling more from that trap beat kind of feel. Like there's that hat work that's in there that's very, very busy. And let's see, but I like the incorporation of the string sound at least. I think it works really well with the vocal line whenever that it came back around in the chorus part. Um, Whoever's got the higher register here, that that sort of soprano voice that's hitting some of these high notes in here, sounds really good. That's probably the sweetest soprano vocal sound that I've heard so far. The other groups, I haven't heard something that it's soft but it's clear, and like there's enough air behind it for being the pitch that it is, I mean, which is why it sounds good. So like best high end so far in the vocal arrangement. Okay, I'm gonna do one more again. So I like this like watercolor sort of effect here in this opening. So the visuals on most of these have actually been like pretty good. There's a high production value to these particular K-pop videos. But let me see one more again. That sounds like a sample of something I've heard before. Sounds very classical period.
Red velvet.
And
무도회를 뒤집어 작은 소란을 또 일으켜 This is gonna be a crazy night.
so that, like, see, there's some it's very, whatever that string sample is in the beginning, it's very major for when you hear that little descending line. And then when this verse part kicks in, the percussion ramps up and it goes very minor. There was like maybe a resolution there, but it wasn't so strong, so maybe like 4. It sounded like it was going back towards major, but for the most part this verse part is in minor. And then when that chorus part comes around and you hear that descending strings again, there's going to be a shift back into major. It's fun. That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, like the contrast.
등장부터 인사까지 파격적이게 우리 살짝 놀아볼까 솔직하게 baby 지금부터 시작해볼게 Feel my vibe and sway.
Like that little feel my vibe and sway line right there is what I'm talking about. So there was a strong vibrato on that part, and it's I could hear the whole thing, like it was very clear. So there's enough air behind it, but it's very also relaxed enough to get that vibrato across that whole thing. So yeah, but I like it.
가루를 날려 폭죽을 더 크게 터뜨려 우리로만 다 편견을 가지지 마 자유로워 지금 Come with me 상상해봐 뭐든지 노래를 따라서 저 끝까지 춤을 춰 날 움직이게 Follow my heartbeat 해가 떠올 때까지 멈추지 말아줘 이 순간을 놓지 마 baby 차는 너는 classic 이제 조금 낯선 다른 차원 같지 Get loud 세상 수많은 건 시간 속 예고 없이 등장해 이 밤은 멋지고 우리 falling wild and brave 시선을 끄는 emotion Keep me on your direction 끝없는 발굴처럼 빠져드는 sweet emotion 머리 푼 채 어디로든 떠날래 온 세상 모든 경계를 다 휘저을래 꽃가루를 날려 심피를 더 크게 터뜨려 두 눈 어제 멈추는 순간 What I feeling 어서 내 손을 잡아 본적 없던 feeling 빠지는 you and I Next time 시계를 돌려 어디로 가볼까 Come on 또 다시 시작해 you and I
That was a cool little like lo-fi break there. Yeah, it's a very smart use of that strings part that's in there. It sounds like a sample, man. That sounds like something that is straight up classical that I can't place. I don't know who. I was never like a cellist or violinist or whatever. But that sounds like it's a straight up sample, but the way it's used is very, very clever. And they used more too. Like it came back and it went into a very on through the rest of that, because what's happening is that line is following a chord progression, and that's why it's sort of on the path that it's on. In other words, and they've just lined it up very, very cleverly with what's in effect a much simpler sort of chord progression underneath it. But classical music has that to it. It works. It was not. When I say classical, I mean from the classical period too. Like it doesn't like it makes sense that you can do it. That doesn't seem like it's too far out of the realm of possibility. This is an interesting one. Again, contrast. Contrast is the thing. It's about the contrast. They really know how to incorporate it and how to have contrast within a song. Yeah, let's see how this one wraps up here. Oh, this is interesting. So this is from a Hieronymus Bosch painting. See, there was a lot of when you okay, so like you hear people talk about music and you hear like, okay, there's the Baroque period, then there's the classical period, and there's the Romantic period. Those period movements did not start in music. They started in the visual arts. It was the Baroque period because of the painters, of the types of paintings that were being created then, right? The musical artists followed what the visual artists were doing. And in this, there were so many different artistic like examples in here, from that watercolor stuff in the beginning. This is a straight up Hieronymus Bosch. I can't remember the name of the painting. There's something about like I don't know. It's crazy. Bosch was like just kind of a tripped out, ergot addled thing. Like that guy was on some stuff or whatever. But that's why this looks the way it does. This is supposed to be a representation of some sort of ancient like life form or whatever that was on the planet before people took their form or something. But that's just it's an interesting theme to use for the video. And when I'm talking about when they sampled the classical sounding string part, right? Again, that's borrowing from, that is informed by the classical period painting styles that were going on at the time. And this music in turn, because of the way that it incorporates it, because of a principle called Western tonal harmony, is also dependent on, I mean, you don't get here until you go through those other periods or whatever. So it's just a like a sort of a nerdy thing. Like you won't know that unless you are really into like the art stuff, just that was clever. That was clever all around. I think this was very clever. Like this is like there's a lot of classical musicality in this. Like I said, that the vocal parts, so far this has got the best like high end of that. Those they had very good vocal parts in this. Oh man, it might be. I think it's gonna come down to between actually like Twice and this group here, Red Velvet. I have to hear more of these and all the groups too that I've heard so far, but I really enjoyed this for a bit of artistic sort of appreciation aspects of it that I'm talking about that are subtle, that you wouldn't really know unless you're that into it. Yeah, this was cool. Yeah, so far as pop music, these K-pop groups are really like holding it down. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to more, but so far it's going to be probably Twice and Red Velvet are the ones I have actually enjoyed the most. Blackpink, and then the aespa group and the ITZY group would probably round out the in order from the ones I enjoy most down to the ones I still enjoy, but just not as much. So yeah, that was but that was cool. This was a cool one. I've forgotten the last couple of reactions I did, but if you have any recommendations for anything, like I said, I'm not familiar with popular contemporary stuff, so there's all kinds of possibilities there. But anyways, that concludes this reaction here. Red Velvet, I enjoyed it. Feel My Rhythm, I enjoyed this song. I think there was some very good vocals and very clever. Also, concept, video, lots of little artistic nods here and there. So, yeah. Once again, the K-pop's girl groups are have another win.